Hi guys, I hope you guys are doing good. So as a part of our Postgres tutorial series, in last lecture we learned how to prepare JSON from tabular data, right? Now in this lecture we will use that previous lecture's concept and return JSON output from the function. Okay, so if you guys have not seen the last lecture, please go back and see that lecture so that you have the basics of JSON. Okay. So now let's start to our demo. So this is our explorer. In our object explorer right now we have four database: employee, human resource, organization, and Postgres. So we'll start first example from our organization database. So in organization database we have schemas, right? App schema and public schema, and we are creating function and views in app schema. In public schema we have tables. Okay, so let me open a query tool. Let's check the data on which we are going to create function. So we have data in org table. Okay, so we have around 100 records, 101 records in our org table, right? And the fields are like this: org index, which is the primary key, organization ID, then name of the organization, website, country, description, and then founded year, industry that organization belongs to, and the number of employees working in that organization, right? Then we have created one view on top of this table, right, in app schema. So let's check the data in that first. So this is app org view. So let's check data in that. Okay, so it has also 101 row. That means all the rows which are in org table are there in the our view as well, app views, org view. Okay, now I'll show you the example of the function, okay, where we will return JSON output uh, from this table. Okay, so I've already prepared the script. Let me just paste it and then I'll explain you guys what we are doing in this function. Okay, so let me just paste it here. Okay. So in the starting, you can see we are creating app in app schema. We are creating this function org detail JSON function. Okay, so we are passing the organization index, which is the primary key of that, right? And we want to get the detail of that particular organization. Okay, then return type is returns table, and return type you can see it's ID description, which has a data type of JSON, right? So we are going to return a table of JSON, right? And then our normal language PLPG SQL cost 100 volatile parallel unzips. Okay, after that our body starts from here. Then in the declare section we have one variable, a local variable LV statement, which has a size of 2000 character varying. Okay, now in the LV statement, we have already seen this SQL query, right? Now I have in the previous lecture. Now I have put that in our dynamic no SQL, and we'll use that as a function. Okay, a function query. So you can see I have first with final data as with then with JDA data J data, which is JSON data as, and then again with clause with org data as. Okay, so here I am getting org data, select star from org view. Okay, all the data from that organization view, and if porg index, which is parameter, if that is not null, then I'm applying a where clause on that query, that where ov org index equals to $1. $1 is our bind variable, which we will pass using porg index. Okay, so our query is select star from app org view where ov org index equals to the parameter org index, right? If org index is not null, right? If org index I'll pass null, then this query, this part will not be included, right? So it will consider all the data, right? And if I'm passing p org index, that it will bring only that record, right? Using this where clause. Okay. Next, going forward, we have a JSON build object, right? In that we are passing our keys and values, right? So keys are this one, which are fields name, org index, name, country, right? And values are coming from our view, right? This org view, right? So I have given view name is what? Uh, okay, so here I'm taking org data, right? So I have given this view name as org data from the with clause view, right? And I'm using here org data and I've given alias as OD, right? So from here I'm passing all the values od.org index, od.name, od.country, od.description, od.founded, od.number of employees, right? So I have two JSON build object, right? So I'm make taking column 1 and column 2. So first three field in column 1 and then three field in column 2, right? And then I'm building a JSON build array of this column 1 column 2, right, which we have seen in the last lecture. And then I'm preparing a JSON aggregate on top of this complete jcall. Wh- okay, so I'm applying JSON aggregate on jcall, right? And which is from our final data, right? So here I'm getting the final data. Okay, now I'm printing our LV statement, which is generating, right, before executing it. So our prepared statement is LV statement, right? I've explained this raise info in previous lectures, right? So please go back and see, if you have not seen that lecture. Then I'm doing return query, right, and executing this dynamic statement LV statement using our parameter porg index, which will replace this $1, right, if it will come into picture, right. If it will not come into picture, then it will not be used. Okay, so this is our function. Okay, so we can execute that function and then we'll check, we'll try to execute that and we'll check the prepared statement as well. Okay, so let me execute this function in app schema, right? Okay, so function got created. Let me just expand app schema and check function. Let me refresh this. Okay, now we have seven functions and our function is this one org detail JSON function, right? So our function got created. Let's try to execute this function now. Okay, so to execute this function, I'm passing the org index as 1, right? So I need details of first organization and I want to see the data in JSON, right? So this is our JSON output, right? So and before going to JSON output, let's check in the message. So if you, in the message, if you see, so we have prepared statement printed, right? And this is the query which is running behind the dynamic query, right? So this you can see all the uh, everything in that dynamic query gets printed with, so this is the query, this is the actual query which is getting executed and giving us this JSON output, right? But since we have written it into dynamic statement, so we have to pass like for example here org index is covered by two single quotes, right? But org index actually it's in see here single quote, right? But to get it into the dynamic statement, we have to give one more quote, right? So that's the thing. We take everything in the single quote, but if something is already in between the statement already in single quote, then we'll take it into one more quote so that we this code get also printed or covered in dynamic inquiry, right? So here you see it's coming in single quote, right? Okay, so this was our prepared statement and then we have data output, right? So data output, let's check this data output and let's put it into our notepad plus plus and we'll use our plugin json viewer which we installed in the last lecture, right? So json viewer, so we can see we have just one node, right? And it has two node, right? And each has three fields, right? So org index, name, country is coming in one, and then description, founded, and number of employees coming in one node, right? So this is our JSON output, right? Similarly, what we can do is call this function for another index as well, another organization as well, right? So it will give the output of other company, right, in the same format. Or what I can do is pass null in this, right? So it will print all the organizations, right? Because where clause will be skipped, right? So it should print all the organization in that particular structure. So let's check that. So run is successful. Let me just copy the JSON and paste it here, and let's see the structure. So I'll just refresh this after pasting. If I refresh this in the JSON viewer panel, it will refresh the tree. So see, we have 101 rows, right? We have total 101 organization, right? So all the organization are coming in the output, right? So you can see all the organizations are there, right? So you can expand any organization, and structure of will be same, right? And data will be for that particular organization, right? So this is organization index 5, and name, country, description, founded, and number of employees, right? So all the organizations will have this kind of output, right? So this way we can give the output from our function JSON output, which will be used generally by the UI people, right? So that they don't need to parse it, right? And they can integrate it with the backend code, right? And they can show it in the UI, right? So now we have one more example, and this was one example. I have one more example which I have implemented in employee database. So I'll just close this. Okay, organization database, and let's go back to employee database. So let me open a query tool. Okay, so in employee database, we have two tables in public schema. Okay, that is department and employee, and we'll set up a hierarchy of employees residing in a particular department, right? So we'll show all the employees detail, we'll show all the department detail, and along with the department, in each department we'll show all the employees who are working in that department in a tree structure in a JSON output. Okay, so before doing that, we'll have to create a app schema, right, where we'll store our views and a function. Okay, so let me just create app schema quickly. So this is our app schema creation script. So let me just execute it. So our app schema got created in employee. Let me just refresh and check. Okay, so app schema is ready, right? And now let's create views on those two table, public table. Okay, so okay, so this is the view name is department view, which is based on this department table, right? So let me create view. Let me alter the grant, and then let's check the data in that view. Okay, so we have three rows, department 10, 30, and 20, right? Three department we have, right? Similarly, let's create employee view also, right? So let me just paste this. So employee view got created, right? Let me alter the grant. Okay, let's check the data in the employee view. So we have six rows, right? So two rows in each department, right? Department ID is the foreign key as well, right? In the employee table. So there's a parent-child relationship between department and employee. Now let's take our function. So this is our function query, and let me just paste it, and I'll explain you what is this function about. So function name is department wise employee function. Okay, so that's the function name, department wise employee function, right? And in this department wise employee function, we are passing department ID, which is input parameter of begin type, right? So I can pass any department ID, right? So it will print that department and all the employees working in that department, right? And then similarly, I am returning table, which is ID description. I'm giving a variable, and it's a JSON type of output. Okay, JSON type of return output. Okay. then this thing are common, and then we have body. In body we have declare statement. In declare we have a local variable declared which has a size of 2000, right? Now here I am, no, we have already seen this query in the last lecture, right? Now I'm using this with the dynamic SQL and no, giving the JSON output. Okay, so let's see again. So we have employee JSON as, so here I am preparing employee JSON first, where I am getting a department ID and I'm getting the JSON aggregate of JSON build object, right? So I'm using JSON build object function here, and I'm giving all the employee fields, right? So keys and value. So employee ID is the keys, and here I'm passing the value e dot employee ID, which is coming from this employee view, right? So similarly all the employee fields are there, and I'm grouping it by department ID, right? So for each department I'm grouping it, and while grouping only I'm applying JSON aggregate, right? So it will aggregate employees rows based on the department ID, right? Now in the department JSON, I am selecting JSON build object, and I'm passing all the department fields, which, so department ID is the key and d dot department ID is the value which is coming from department view, right? So after providing all the department field, at the end I'm passing a new key called employees, and in the values I'm passing ej.j, which is the value, which is the nested JSON or child JSON coming from employee JSON. Okay, so because I've also joined here employee JSON, which is alias name is EJ, right? And this J is coming. J is no, here I have given the column name as J to this aggregated JSON, which is department wise, right? So I'm using it here, right? And I'm joining it based on the department ID, right? So for each department the employee JSON will be no, added here in the department JSON, right? And then I'm checking if p department ID, if I'm passing the input parameter from the department ID in this function, if this is not null, then I'm also adding a where clause after this join and department ID equals to that particular department, and this $1 is the bind variable in which I'm going to pass this p department ID, right? If p department ID is not null, and then just adding the last part of LV statement, that is JSON aggregate of that J call, right? So you have multiple rows of department, so just aggregating all the department and preparing a single JSON, right, from the department JSON, right? After that I'm doing raise info, and this is the prepared statement, and I'm printing the LV statement, right? And then return query executing this dynamic LV statement using our p department ID, which is the parameter which will replace this bind variable, right? So now let's create this function. Okay, so function got created. Let's check, go back in app schema and check the function. Okay, so function got created successfully, right? Now we are going to call this function. So let's call it first by department wise. Okay, so department number is 10. I'm calling it for department number 10. So let's check. This is the output, and let's check the message first. Okay, so this is the prepared statement which our dynamic SQL query is giving, and this is running to give the output, right? So here you can see we have in the where clause we should have department ID equals to 10. See here, and d dot department ID equals to $1, right? So here $1 is filled with 10 at the runtime, right? So that's how I'm getting only department ID 10 data. Now let's check the output in the JSON viewer. So let me just paste it here in the JSON viewer, and I'll just refresh my JSON viewer panel. So I can see there is only one node, and each node has four nodes, right? So first is department ID, department name, department head, right? And then you can see a nested employee node, right? Let's expand that. So we have two employee, right? It is giving, and each employee has five fields, right? So you can see we have employee ID 1, which has department ID 10, employee name, employee salary, employee role, right? Next employee is employee ID 2, department ID is same 10, employee name, employee cell, and employee role, right? So we have department ID 10 our data, right? So with respect to department table, and then we have employees data with respect to department 10, right? So this is parent child relationship, right? So now let's run this for all department, right? So I'll be passing null in the p department id. That means I don't want any department, I want all the department, right? So just run this. Okay, so our message, let's check. So see here, after d dot department id, ej dot department id is there, but that and clause is not there, right? That means it is giving output of all the department id. So let's check the output. So let me paste it and refresh our JSON panel. So we can see we have three department. Right, so each department has four node, department ID, department name, department ID, and employees, right? And each employees are there, employee detail are there. Similarly, we have another department, department 30, which is the delivery department, and it has also two employees, which are Mr. Sandeep and Mr. Karthik, right? And their details are there, right? And then we have one more department called department ID 20, which is SAP, and it has two employee. One is Mr. Anurag, and there is one more, right? So you can see, that's how the output is there, right? You can also see by just plug in and in JSON we are go format JSON, right? So here also you can see all our JSON output is formatted, right? So we have department ID 10, department ID 30, employees are nested, right? Department ID 20 and employees nested, right? So I hope you guys understood the concept of JSON, right, and returning JSON output, right? So I think now you have all the basic concepts like dynamic SQL, bind variables, right, JSON output, and how you return JSON output from a function, right? So all the like in all these lectures, I'm able to give the knowledge of just giving final output from the function, right? Now you can use this in your development environment, right, and try it. Okay, so I hope you guys like this video. If you like this video, please subscribe my channel, okay, for further cool videos. I'm going to post a lot of other features also from Postgres. Thank you guys.